Let's take a look at this data for startup, medium company, and tech giant. I've brought the data from our table in the module here into Desmo so we can play with the axes, and I can demonstrate what's happening. When I click on startup, medium, and tech giant, I click on them to display them. So right now there's nothing displaying. As I click on startup is represented by these green dots. Our x-axis is time in years, and this study took place over a 7-year period. So there's our startup. As we move into medium tech company, we click on medium tech company, and there's medium tech company. They have a lot more growth, right? They started with a growth rate at 15 versus a half, right? So they're already higher up on the y-axis, and they're creating a lot more growth, but it's all still within a 7-year time period. Then we click on tech giant. Where's the dots? Well, tech giant, its revenue growth started at 1,000. So we're going to have to scroll up, 150, 200, 250. Look what's happening to our startup and medium company. As we expand to try to find on this linear scale, as we expand to try to find tech giant, our ability to look and distinguish what's happening with startup and medium company is the clarity of that image is getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Eventually, as we keep trying to get to there's finally our first data point, 1,000 for tech giant, and then 1,200, 1,300. So there's 1,000, then 1,200, 1,300. Now, this is also, the x-axis has now become very compressed. So all 7 years are just showing up like almost on one line, and everything looks like it happened within the same year. And even the tech giant now, we can't even tell that this is year 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And as we finally scroll to get all the way and see the last 3,100, the data for the very last year of tech giant, look what has happened down here at startup and medium company. We can't even see their curve. This is what I mean when I say that it's very hard to visualize data that's very far spread apart on a linear scale. Now, with the beauty of Desmos, we can go over here and we can change the scale. And I can actually tell the y-axis to convert the y-axis to a logarithmic scale. And then we can look at our data again. At least now on this logarithmic scale, at least I can see that all 3 companies are showing up together. That's because the spread of the data is much lower. And to zoom in, we're beginning to see, now we can see startup. Now we can see medium tech company, and it's spread out. What we've done is we've put the y-axis converted it with the help of Desmos. We didn't actually use a calculator. And now we can see all 3 companies compared on the same graph, and we can now begin to make relative comparisons about them and how they changed over the course of 7 years. And we can see, for example, that startup, although it's had very little money compared to, say, tech giant, has had a very steep increase in growth rate compared to tech company, who has a very much more level area of growth. We would never be able to see and compare the differences in these 3 companies if we continue to look at them on a linear scale, right? By converting them to a logarithmic scale, it allows us to see and make comparisons with them.